We may not have a king who's renaming us, but our culture tries to rename us according to the idols we subscribe to. Addict, bad boy, famous, TV watcher, spender, worker. Whatever owns you, whatever runs your life, never forget your identity, that you are a child of God. He bought you at a very high price, and you are His child. He cares so much about you that He wants you to be His child and to live like His child. But you have to make a choice every single day to live in the new identity that God has given you, the identity of being a child of God. And I have to say in this regard that some days are easier to live as a child of God than other days are. There are some days in your life where you are just more vulnerable, more susceptible to temptation than other days. Note this day for Daniel, just how vulnerable he is. He's away from his homeland. He's away from his family. He's got a new boss. He has a new job. His very life is threatened every single day, and he's starting his first days at a new university. This scenario is ripe for compromise. I want to ask you this question. Do you know what days you're most vulnerable? Do you know what situations lend themselves to you being most likely to fall to temptation, to sin, to compromise, to cheat just a little bit? Let me offer some suggestions here. I think we're most vulnerable when nobody knows who we are. You might be most vulnerable when you're out of town on a business trip, or when your spouse is out of town on a business trip. When you're bored or tired. When you're in a new environment. When you have expectations to perform or act in a certain way that's not jiving with God's principles. I think that entering a new job or a new school is perhaps the most challenging time of compromise. And I think the perfect confluence of all these forces happens to create one day in your life that is your most vulnerable day. You want to know what day I think is the most vulnerable day for most people? It's the Thursday or Friday of your first week of college. Nobody knows you. The hard work of school hasn't hit yet. You're bored. You want to impress people. It is your most vulnerable day. I spent 13 years at the University of Illinois, 5 as a student and then 8 on InterVarsity staff. Much of my time trying to help out and reach out to students when they were in their most vulnerable days. And I've discovered a few principles. I'm going to take a minute on these. For those who are students or know students that are heading off to school, or perhaps in a few years you'll be heading off to school, here's some things, some tips to thrive in your faith. Number 1, get connected in a Christian group right away. Right away. Look for people at booths, at fairs with signs, people on your dorm floor who are followers of Jesus. The people you meet in your first 4 weeks of school, statistically, are most likely to be your friends for the entire 4 years that you're at that school. Number 2, stay connected with a Christian friend from home who you can call or text regularly for accountability to help you make the kinds of actions that you want to make at school. Number 3, keep your prayer and Bible study active. Keep a vibrant connection to God. Your very first day when you're at school, pull out the Bible and read it. Spend some time in prayer, just like you do when you're at home. Sure, your roommate might see you. They may develop certain opinions about you, but it's best to establish your patterns and habits as a follower of Jesus from the very first day. And then 4th, be a pace setter from the beginning. Initiate friendships, but take your friendships to play ultimate frisbee or have a movie night or do something that's fun so you don't get sucked into behaviors and environments that you will regret later. So, that's a way to help avoid traps in your first week at school. But back to Daniel, because Daniel in this story is on his most vulnerable day, his first days at the University of Babylon.